Hello, and welcome back to the At Home Educator Podcast. Hello, it is me, Brittany, back again. And this week, it is just me here with you, sitting at my desk, having a chat. And before we dive into today's subject, which is a great subject, by the way, we are talking about napping today, so stick around for that. But before we dive into that subject, I just wanted to check in with you guys. So, how are you doing? Are you reaching your monthly goals? How is that going? How are you enjoying this podcast? We're on episode 9, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have anything that you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to let me know. I am always open to new suggestions for subjects or for people that you would like me to interview or talk with on the podcast. So please feel free to send that to me if you'd like. Remember, we have several ways for you to get in contact with me. So, of course, there's Instagram. You can DM me on there. I have my email, which is teacherbritneybci@gmail.com. I will have that below as well in the description. We also have a Facebook group, and I have a Facebook page where you can post or send me messages. And of course, the website, which is the athomeeducatorpodcast.com, which is great. I will have a link to that as well. I worked very hard setting it up, and so I would love if you would go visit, check it out, let me know your thoughts, and I'd love to meet you. So feel free to reach out to me in any of those ways. Like I already said, they will all be linked below in the description, and you can check them out. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, which is, should we nap? To nap or not to nap? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler to lay your head on a pillow. I'm just kidding, guys. I will stop. I am a Shakespeare junkie. I love Shakespeare, but we're not going that direction. But we are talking about whether it is good to nap today. So I have seen on Instagram and other social medias that there are a lot of people in this VIPKid community who are avid nappers. And for me, napping has never really been a big thing. I just feel like I have too much to do, too much going on. I never have time to nap. And so, I decided to delve into this topic kind of because I was interested for myself and I wanted to see if it was justified. Maybe I could come up with a good excuse and try to convince myself to nap. Obviously, working with VIPKid, there are some crazy hours. So you're either going to be working late at night or early in the morning, since China is 12 to 14 hours different from us. Or if you're a crazy person, and I know some of you are, you can work overnights, which are especially crazy. So you basically stay up the whole night, and then I'm guessing you sleep during the day, but I'm not exactly sure because I don't do that. But if you do overnights, I'm sure napping are a part of your schedule. So whether you do overnights or whether you just work a normal schedule late at night or early in the morning, I'm sure that napping has crossed your mind. We're all sleep deprived. And I'm sure that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock p.m. feeling rolls around and you're like, oh man, I would love to nap right now. But maybe you've thought, I don't have time. Or maybe you've thought, no, napping is not for me. Napping is for people who are lazy or people who don't want to get things done. So, I found some really interesting facts and really it has convinced me that napping is not so bad. So before you start thinking that nappers are all lazy people or that napping's not worth it, I will share with you some golden tidbits of information. So when I first started my research into napping, I wanted to dive into the stigma behind napping. A lot of people, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people, and this necessarily isn't me, but a lot of people think that napping is for lazy people. Just to be frank, that napping is for lazy people. So if you lay on the couch and take a nap every day, you are being unproductive, you're being lazy, you're a slob, you're not cleaning, you're not cooking, you're not doing what you need to do, you're taking time out of your day to sleep when you just slept all night long, and that makes you a lazy person. And this was kind of something that I was afraid of when it comes to napping. Not that I know anybody is like looking in on me and knows that I nap, because obviously I stay home most of the day. So it's not like I'm posting on Instagram being like, nap time, going to sleep. But, it was kind of more of a personal feeling. So like I felt like if I was going to take a nap, I would wake up and I would feel like, ugh, why did you nap? You're such a lazy person. You could have gotten so much stuff done. And it was more of a social pressure that I was putting on myself, or that I am putting on myself, because I'm still not napping. But, I did some research, and there are some very surprising people that were avid nappers who were super productive members of society. So, Margaret Thatcher, who is a famous British politician, she was an avid napper. She would take naps before giving speeches to try and invigorate herself. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, he was a napper. I don't know much detail about his naps, but I know that he did nap, and he thought that it helped his creativity. Obviously, he was an inventor. Salvador Dali, the famous painter, was apparently an avid napper. So, painting does take a lot out of you. Standing for that long, especially Salvador Dali's paintings, I'm sure they took a very long time. It's not like you go to painting with a twist, you drink some wine, and you're done in and out in an hour. Salvador Dali had multiple day projects. So he was an avid napper. He needed to recharge his batteries after painting masterpieces. Leonardo da Vinci, he was a napper, very smart man. I'm sure that he napped again to recharge his brain. John F. Kennedy, the president, John F. Kennedy, he was an avid napper. This also helped him with public events. So he would take a nap before or after going to public events to kind of reinvigorate himself. Eleanor Roosevelt, the first lady, and she would also nap before her speaking arrangements. She would often be found in like the quote unquote green room, whatever that would be, for whatever speech she was doing, napping before she went out, so that then she would wake up and feel not so tired and be ready to talk. Winston Churchill was actually an avid napper. He is famous for hosting some meetings from his bed. So he would lay in his bed and have people come and meet him in his bedroom. So that was interesting. And also Albert Einstein. I think Albert Einstein is probably the most famous avid napper. He would sit in a chair and hold a pencil or a spoon in his hand. And his strategy was that he would not let himself fall too deep into sleep. So when the pencil or the spoon would start to fall out of his hand, he would wake up. And that was his method for not allowing himself to go too deep into sleep during his naps. But he did nap a lot. And he also slept, for average, from what I read, about 10 hours a night. So that man got a lot of sleep. I'm jealous. So these are all people that napped all of the time. And obviously, they are people who accomplished a lot in life. And so I think that kind of helped me in my mind, and hopefully it'll help you in your mind, to say, napping isn't just for lazy people. You can obviously be a productive member of society and still nap. So I thought that was really interesting to see that all of those people napped. And in fact, I would argue that those people were probably more productive because they napped, especially when it comes to creative things. I feel like when I sleep, my brain kind of like resets itself. So after a nap, I'll wake up, or I don't really nap. So after I go to sleep, I'll wake up and I'll have all these new ideas at the beginning of the day. And then by the end of the day, it's kind of like they're all gone. They just brain farted out of my head. So maybe a nap would help to kind of refresh that creativity. In my research, I also found that napping is definitely not uncommon. Like I said, my anecdotal evidence is that I've seen a lot of people mentioning napping and how great it is on their social media, especially in the world of VIPKid. But a Pew Research study, which is like Pew is a very trustworthy source for research studies. If you watch the news, you'll always hear about Pew Research studies. But a Pew Research study in 2009 found that a third of all U.S. adults nap on any given day. So a third of adults in the U.S. are napping every day. And that was in 2009. I feel like with this whole modern self-care, put yourself first movement, which is not a bad thing, but it's a good thing, I think. But especially with that movement that's going on right now, probably more people nap. So that has probably increased even more than 1/3 of adults. So obviously napping is a popular hobby. I don't know if you could call it a hobby, but we're going to for all intents and purposes in this podcast. So napping is a very popular hobby, but there was still this thing in my head where I was like, so yeah, sure, people do it. People rave about it. All these famous people did it and they weren't lazy, right? But, is there really a benefit to it? So I started to look further into the benefits and I was actually really surprised. There are quite a few research studies that have been done, like scientific research studies that show that napping is beneficial for you. So I thought that it would be interesting to share with you guys. So one of these studies that I found was from the University of Michigan, and they found that after a 60-minute midday nap, people were less impulsive and had a greater tolerance for frustration. Now, when I heard of this study, I was thinking, I am the mother of a small child who is now only 9.5 months old, but she is crazier than ever and will only get crazier as she grows. And I know that a lot of you out there are mamas or dads of toddlers, children, whatever the age may be. The point is that children are hard and you get frustrated with them sometimes. So I was thinking maybe this nap thing would be good for me, because if it really does raise your tolerance towards frustration and lowers your impulsivity, which could be like yelling on impulse because you're just angry, then maybe napping would be worth it. I mean, if you can become a more patient, more caring parent, then I think that's great. So that was after a 60-minute nap. And really, there are other studies that show that napping just improves like your overall mood, not just your tolerance for frustration or your impulsivity control, but just your happiness in general. So if you nap correctly, you will wake up and you will be in a better mood than if you were to have gone around all day and been tired. Another study that I found was from the University of California, and this study showed that napping for 90 minutes had the same benefits of napping for 8 hours of sleep. Well, not napping, I guess. Had the same benefits of sleeping for 8 hours when it came to learning ability. So people had a higher ability to memorize things that they learned and then recall those things. The same place did another study, and they used caffeine in the study, and it showed that people who napped compared to people who drank caffeine performed better on the recall test as well. So these people who were given coffee to drink when they were tired and then taught something to memorize and asked to recall it performed worse than those who were taught something to memorize, then took a nap, then woke up, and then were asked to recall it. So, that midday tempting coffee, which we all, I'm sure, do sometimes, or if you're a tea drinker or anything, I guess an energy drink, whatever your poison is, that caffeine is not as effective as actually going to sleep, according to these studies. And I have been a caffeine drinker for a very long time. I know that's really bad. Of course, when I was pregnant, I didn't really drink it, but also when I was pregnant, I napped a lot, and I don't do that much anymore. So, Now I'm back to my old caffeine drinking ways. Coffee every morning, sometimes coffee during the day. On Sundays when I teach at night, I drink the Java Monsters, which I know are probably like cancer juice, and they're probably terrible. You probably shouldn't drink them, but I do drink them, and they help a lot for keeping me awake, because I swear my eyes sometimes are not even open. Like, it's not even on purpose. While I'm teaching, my eyes will just like close on those nights. They're not Sunday nights, they're Friday nights. So I wake up at 4 in the morning on Fridays and teach, and then I go all day without napping, and I teach until midnight on Fridays. So it's a rough one, and I've been coping with drinking those Java Monster drinks, and while they do help, obviously that showed me that just taking a nap would probably be more effective and probably more enjoyable. So that may be something that I might be cutting out of my routine on Fridays, the Monster energy drink, and I may be adding in a nap. There were tons and tons of studies to sift through, like a surprising amount of studies done on napping. But overall, I found that from these studies, they showed that people experience benefits in reaction time, logical reasoning, and symbol recognition. So we've all been there, I'm sure, in a class where you hold up a banana and you're like, apple, right? That's not because you don't know what a banana is. It's because you're so tired. Your brain is just, it's brain farting. So the naps will definitely help curb that kind of thing happening, at least from what I found in the studies. And I actually found that scientists say that driving tired can be just as bad as driving drunk. So it's very clear that not sleeping can seriously impair your abilities. Obviously, you shouldn't drive drunk, and you probably shouldn't drive tired, but it was really surprising to me that driving tired could be just as bad. Your reaction time can be delayed just as much. Your ability to operate a car can be impaired just as much. So definitely getting an adequate amount of sleep is really important, especially if you're going to be, driving kiddos around during your day after you teach, or I don't know, picking kiddos up from places if you have kids who, you carpool with and things like that. So all of this evidence really showed me that napping is overall very beneficial. So you may be asking yourself the same question that I was asking myself. Why isn't everyone and their mother telling me to take a nap? Why isn't the CEO of VIPKid telling me to take a nap? And that's because simply there's just a lot of conflicting evidence and a lot of variation. So in my research, I also found some possible disadvantages of napping. People really vary widely on how much sleep they need. Maybe I need 5 hours of sleep, but you might need 8 hours of sleep to operate functionally. And that's okay, but that kind of muddies up the effects of napping. Some people can even nap too much, and that can negatively affect their productivity and things like that. People that have depression or people that suffer from insomnia should not nap because it can mess with their sleeping. Also, there are some studies that suggest that napping can lead to higher levels of what they call C-reactive protein, which scientifically is basically all the stuff that can give you cancer, diabetes, depression, heart disease. But there's also studies that I found that say that naps can help fight cancer, or they can help fight heart disease. There are some studies that show they were done in another country. So they were done in Greece. So that might affect it because they have a different diet than Americans and things like that. But it showed that napping twice a week helped lower their risk of developing heart disease a lot, sometimes by like tenfold. So there's a lot of conflicting evidence. And from what I read, I think it's just because everybody is different. Everybody has different needs. We've talked about this before. Some people are going to be different than me. Some people are going to be different than you in terms of what they need, not just in sleep, but in motivation, in how they live their lives, in their routine. So napping varies from person to person. The APA, the American Psychological Association, has even come out and said that ultimately there's too many studies with too many different people to say that any of these disadvantages or advantages are set in stone, that they need more time to do even more studies, which is really surprising because there are so many sleep studies. It's ridiculous. But they've said they need more time to study people more and to more accurately pinpoint the different kinds of people that there are and what other outside factors could be affecting, how effective naps are for different people before they can say anything really solid. So overall, napping seems beneficial for the most part. I would say that the benefits outweigh the disadvantages from what I've seen, but there are some disadvantages that could happen. Like I said, if you are suffering from depression or if you have insomnia, generally scientists have said that you should not nap. Napping is not a good idea for you. But if you're a perfectly healthy person and you want to take a nap, then it seems like it's probably fine. So you may be thinking, okay, Brittany, you've convinced me. Maybe I should try this nap thing. But how long should I nap? When should I nap? How should I nap? And that's a great question. That's what I was asking myself too. So there are some variances in the recommended time for sleeping, but from what I found, there are basically 3 different nap durations, and they each have their own benefits and disadvantages. So a 20-minute nap seems to be the most recommended time for napping. You can see this on that show, The Doctors, Dr. Oz. He's recommended it. If you look it up online, most of the articles that you'll find will say to take a 20-minute nap. This is the classic power nap time. So basically what scientists say is that in a 20-minute nap, you're still in your lightest stage of sleep. You're not going into that stage of sleep where you're starting to dream. You're not going into deep sleep. So when you wake up, you're going to feel refreshed because you didn't sleep that heavily. This is what Albert Einstein was going for when he was napping. That doesn't mean that you need to nap with a pencil in your hand. By all means, if you want to, go ahead. But if you take a 20-minute nap, you will stay in the lightest stage of sleep. Then we move on to the 30 to 60-minute nap period. Now, personally, this is usually how long I would nap if I napped. So I guess I was doing it all wrong. According to scientists, if you nap in the 30 to 60-minute range, you're going to wake up and you're going to feel groggy and tired and not refreshed. Because you're not making it through a full sleep cycle. So you're waking up in the middle of possibly your deepest part of sleep, and then you're interrupting that cycle. So you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel refreshed. You're going to feel probably more tired than you felt before, and you might be like, ugh, why did I nap? That was a terrible idea. I'm just more tired now. And I feel like this is probably not just for me the most common time period of napping, but for a lot of people, because I feel like a lot of people who don't like napping, that's what they say. They say they don't like napping because when they wake up, they're more tired than when they fell asleep. And it's probably because they're napping within the 30 to 60 minute time range. So do not nap in the 30 to 60 minute time range. If you're going to take a long nap, scientists recommend that you take at least a 90-minute nap. Now, this is a good long nap. You're not going to wake up feeling tired, but obviously it's kind of hard to set aside 90 minutes of time for napping. At least for me with a baby, that's like my baby's whole nap. She doesn't usually nap for longer than 90 minutes. So that means I would have to go to sleep immediately when she goes to sleep and wake up when she goes to wake up. I couldn't get any laundry or dishes or sweeping or mopping done. So this probably won't happen for me. But if you have a little more free time, then it might work for you. And this 90-minute nap period seems to be the golden zone for all of those studies that I talked about. 90-minute naps usually were the ones that improved memory and reaction time and learning ability the most. Like I said before, in one of those studies, the 90-minute nap improved the people's learning and recall skills as much as 8 hours of sleep, which would be like a whole nighttime sleep. So this 90-minute napping period is probably the golden napping period, but like I said, it is the harder nap to get through, just because it takes a lot of your time. But if you do have that time, set it aside and take that 90-minute nap, because apparently it's the most beneficial. You go through a whole sleep cycle. So you go through the lightest part of sleep, then you go into your REM and the deepest part of sleep, and then you come out of that sleep cycle and you wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go again. So you make the best decision for you, whether you want to take that 20-minute power nap or the 90-minute long nap, whatever works best. Just from what I've read, do not take the 30 to 60-minute nap, because it's a trap. Apparently it's a trap. So that will make you wake up and be like, ugh, why did I even nap? But that 20-minute power nap is a short amount of time that, in my opinion, is very doable, because you can set aside 20 minutes to nap if the kids are napping, or if you have some quiet time to yourself. Just make sure you set an alarm so that you wake up at that 20-minute mark. Or set aside that 90-minute time if you have a long time. Maybe the kids are gone, or maybe you don't have kids and you don't have anything to do. Take the 90-minute nap. Enjoy yourself. Live your life. Well, sleep your life. Maybe you'll have some good dreams and come up with some nice new ideas for your classroom, or some reward ideas that you can share, or a new Teachers Pay Teachers product, Maybe it'll refresh your mind, because it's in that creativity golden zone. So that is really all of the research that I found. But really, let's go over what the takeaway was from all of this, because I know that was a lot of information just thrown at you. So really, what I learned through this whole research process was that napping does not mean that you're lazy. There are a lot of people who were very productive members of society that napped. The most impressive to me was Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein got so much sleep, and I feel like that's where he drummed up all of his theories of relativity, because he was thinking about these crazy math concepts and these crazy space concepts, and then he slept on them, and then he had these dreams, and it was like epiphany moments, and I'm going off on a tangent, but anyways, point is, napping does not mean you're lazy. There are lots of people who nap who are not lazy people. They're very productive people. So do not make taking a nap make you feel like you're not doing what you need to do. Napping is something that can be beneficial to you, and especially in this era of taking care of yourself first, which is a great movement. It's one of the ways you can take care of yourself. So don't feel bad for taking that nap. The nap or no nap that works for you will vary. So if you don't feel like you need a nap, then don't nap, because sometimes napping can be not advantageous for you. If you are one of those people who suffers from depression or insomnia, then definitely don't nap. According to scientists, that's a bad idea. So if you're one of those people, napping is not for you. But if you're a perfectly fine person and you feel a little tired, feel free to set aside some time to nap. Remember, you can take that 20-minute nap, which will refresh you quickly, or you can take that 90-minute nap, which is like golden. That's your golden nap time. Whatever works for you. Personally, this adventure validated naps for me, but I'm not sure if I will become an avid napper, just because I just feel like I have so much going on, and I'm sure a lot of you feel that way too. But maybe on days when you have longer days of working, like me on Fridays when I wake up at 4 and I work until midnight, maybe you can set aside some time to nap. I guess it seems beneficial enough to me. I hope that it seems beneficial enough to you. If it doesn't, like I said, do what works best for you. But for me, I may insert it into some days of my schedule. I may not. We will see, and I will share that with you in my April wrap-up podcast. So make sure you check that one out when it comes out to see how the napping went. I'm very interested to hear about your napping adventure as well. So do you nap? How long do you nap? How does it make you feel? Do you not nap? Are you going to nap? I really want to know. I know that naps are something that in preschool we hate and in adulthood we love but can't have. And it's a really interesting topic to me, especially with all of this scientific evidence that shows that it's beneficial, that shows that it varies from person to person. We're all different. And as you probably know, I love hearing about everybody's different experiences with all of these things that I'm going through and that you're going through with me working for VIPKid. So I would love to hear from the other side. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Instagram, Facebook, through my email, whatever works best for you. And I'd love to hear and possibly share what you're saying as well. What I want to remind you guys of is that I am definitely not a medical professional. So take everything that I've said today with a grain of salt. While I did do research from scientific articles, I definitely am no sleep expert. I definitely am not a doctor. I do have a bachelor's degree, but bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies is very different from a doctoral degree. So take everything with a grain of salt and do your own research. I will leave the links to all of the articles that I used to get my information today down below. I highly encourage you to check them out. They're very interesting, and they may lead you to some other studies that might be interesting to you as well. So make sure that you check those out. And really, that is it. I hope that this enlightened you in some way. I hope that it made you feel less guilty about your naps if you're napping and feeling guilty about it. I hope that it educated you on naps and how to take a correct nap if you want to nap, or inspired you to nap or to try napping. It definitely inspired me to try napping, so I will be checking that out. It sounds so funny saying I will try napping, right? I'm laughing. I'm laughing in my head hysterically that as a 23-year-old woman, I'm like, I might try out napping. It's just funny. So yeah, thank you for listening. I'd love to hear from you. So please check out the links in the description and let me know how your nap journey is going. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Remember, teach regularly, play often, and live your life, and nap if you want to. It was nice talking with you guys this week, and I will see you next Wednesday.